to talk about the metaverse. I actually feel like that's such a cool opportunity for us to explore helping people have space and create space for learning and practicing new skills that might actually increase things like empathy. And not just some of the practical skills, like what exact words come out of my mouth, but also some of the developmental and kind of emotional intelligence skills associated with things like empathy. So I know both of you are in different generations than me, and so both of you probably have a lot more experience like with the metaverse and understanding some of the dynamics than I do. So I'm just gonna hand off here, but I'd love to know your ideas about how we could use this differently.
Oh, it's so exciting, especially because with the metaverse, it's opening up the opportunity for us to have experiences in different identities. And a lot of our like knowledge and backgrounds comes from our lived experience. And the thing about this new digital world is that people will be able to step outside of that identity in some capacity and maybe get a different experience they would have otherwise. And it's coming at us like so quickly. One thing about our generation is that we've kind of been meta for a while. We've been in this world. We all started off on like Club Penguin and Webkins. And
wait, what's Club Penguin? I don't know what this is.
So you buy a stuffed animal, and it's like aimed for children. So I think like ages like 8 through like 12. And then it has a code on it. You go online, you put the code in, and it gives you a penguin.
This is like early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. You live as this penguin. You build its house. You play games. I had friends I had never met in real life that I knew all over the globe.
That your Club Penguin.
Yeah, and that was the first sort of global experience I think I had, because you're talking to literally other children from around the world who are on like Webkins or Club Penguin.
And they're all dressed like penguins?
Penguins, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so cognitively, did that have any impact on, well, I don't know, cognitively is the right word, but did that have any impact, like you being dressed like a penguin and all these other penguins, did it like free you up to be a little bit more expressive or something?
I will say this, I remember like talking to like one of my friends, we'd have hangouts and meetups, and realizing in one of our conversations, it was the first time it hit me like, oh, this friend who I don't know what they look like, they don't know that I'm Black. Like they don't know that. And that was like really interesting, because now you're engaging with people on like such a new level. I didn't know what their identity was either. Now there's hints and indicators, and you can kind of like start to guess culture. But yeah, like I remember that was really exciting to me. Yeah, especially growing up, and like I went to a predominantly white school, so I was always hyper aware of like I'm Black. Right. But on this like online sphere, I was a penguin, I was a blue one, and that was the way I navigated. And it opens up like your way of learning and perceiving things is different when there's not, again, that tied identity piece there right away.
Yeah, and I think that's like just something social media and technology has done totally for our generation, is you're interacting a lot of times without seeing who that person is. And so I think there's benefits and negativities to that. But I think a huge part of that is understanding different cultures, having a more global view, and better understanding others' identities, right?
Yeah, and I think you hit like a good point about like, okay, in real life, we strive to build like safe spaces so that people can feel free to like share those experiences, have those hard conversations. But something that like online, the digital world does is it enables like brave spaces. And we see it all the time. People are maybe a little too brave online.
Yeah.
But it really does kind of bring out, like that's a very different feeling when you feel like brave enough, because you have that not only part of like identities necessarily hidden, but it just, I don't know, something about it enables people to share more freely. And I think that's why our generation, like we address these like confrontational or controversial topics really head on.
Right.
And it's because we grew up like in that brave space.
Right.
And yeah, it enabled us in a way, like that online presence from such a young age.
And I think it gives you a voice where you wouldn't normally necessarily in the real world, right? In the metaverse, it's like I can have the same voice as like the white CEO, right? Like there's a huge, it's just very interesting because I can't or haven't had that experience in the real world, right? And so I think it is just, it creates a full different view of the EDI space, I think.
So that's interesting to think about that, because earlier when you said, Lexi, like there's positive and potentially negative implications, I started going to some of the negatives. Like, we
Right.
really want people to be able to be seen and to show up as their full selves. And so to create spaces where people are not necessarily hiding, but their full selves are not available, and where we are practicing, kind of navigating all those identities, could potentially make us less equipped to actually do it in the real world. On the other hand, what you just said about, the equity piece is really interesting, to think about people who have maybe felt marginalized or felt like they haven't had voice in the past, or felt like the power differential has been too inequitable to actually show up in the same way as they might in this metaverse, is really cool. So for people to actually practice developing their voice so that they can then transfer it back out potentially into a real world scenario.